excited to chat with you because you're on this fabulous new series, Long Bright River. Tell us how this project came to you.
I have a great team that I work with, and I got an audition from my manager, Entertainment Lab, and I was actually in Thailand for my brother's wedding when I got this. So so I did it the day of my brother's wedding in the morning. I had a couple of my friends went to my brother's wedding too. So yeah, in casting basically puts out breakdowns for shows they have. Your reps submit you for it, and you just hope you get as many auditions as possible. And so yeah, this was one of those where it was fun. It was rushed and not rushed, but I had a lot of things going on that weekend, and I'm very happy it worked out. When I booked it, so I auditioned for this in February, and I started filming in late April. So there was maybe a month and a half in between when I got it to when I started working. So first thing I did was order the book, and I just kind of wanted to feel it out, see the direction it was headed in, right? And so actually in the book, the character I play had a different name. It was Nguyen. It was a Vietnamese last name, and he was in it, but I think when it comes to a novel or when it comes to television, like in a novel, you can just write out what the main character was thinking or feeling, right? In a show, you have to either say it or show it. So I think that they had to have somebody, relay a lot of this information. And so, yeah, the script and the character that I played had, I would say, a much larger role in the show than it did in the book, which is great. And when we're filming, we get episode by episode. So I really was also learning what was happening as I was getting the script. So yeah, I just played it episode by episode. There was one scene I remember in the first episode that I was in, which is episode two, that my character looks to Amanda's character and is like, I knew there was a reason I liked you. And the director called cut, and she was like, just so you guys know, just so you know, there's nothing happens between you two. Because I was like, oh, maybe this is a little flirty, you know?
I like that. I like that story.
Yeah.
Um, Pip, you've done a lot. I mean, obviously, we'll talk about your transition from sports to acting, but tell me about your preparation for this role, because again, as an actor, you've got to get the preparation right. What kind of research did you do? Share with me about that story.
I played quite a bit of law enforcement. My dad worked for the government too, so I don't know if that kind of rubbed off on me. But I feel like the tone is one of the things that I look at when I'm prepping. What kind of show it is, what kind of tone, and what is my character's role in this show? So I also make a lot of my own, short films and write and direct. So I feel like I don't only look at it through the actor's point of view. I try to kind of see it from, try to analyze from the viewer's point of view and from a creative standpoint and how to kind of mesh the two. So for this, and also lastly, how it complements other characters. Like this is obviously Amanda's show, and Mickey, her character, is the main person in this. She's in almost every single scene. So my character is assisting her realistically in this story. So a lot of what I did here was give information about the case and the murders. So I knew I didn't want to overplay that where it's a lot of matter of fact. And so when I was prepping, that was kind of my idea was I want to make sure that when I'm giving information, a lot of this stuff is matter of fact. I've done this a million times. Uh, it's obviously a drama. The stakes are very high, but you don't necessarily have to play like everything is life or death, even though technically this is life or death. But if you watch medical shows, it's not
I
like,
do.
oh my God, heart stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah, pacing to me, pacing and tone is really what I focus on when I prep.
What's important for you when you get into a scene and you start to shape that narrative? What are the things that you're looking at from a craft standpoint.
When I'm working and I'm creating a character, I don't feel like there's a character there and I necessarily just need to find who it is. I feel like there's guidelines to who this person is and how do I portray this. So I know there's many different ways to approach it, right? I feel that, okay, when I see like this character, Don Gerard, for example, I feel like he's a detective, or I know he's a detective. He's very straightforward. He's a no BS kind of guy. He might be a tough guy to read. So to me, those are kind of like the base, the pillars, and then I'm gonna play it how I play it myself and just kind of trust my gut instinct with that. When I'm going into a scene, I want to make sure, for me, the most important thing is I have to know my copy. Um, and a lot of what happens will also, be adjusted with how the other actors play their part. And if
Mm.
they're loud and aggressive, I'm going to react a different way. So there's things that you can't necessarily predict beforehand going into a scene.
Yeah,
So I feel like you could only you do all the prep work and having an idea of what you want to do, but then the showrunner may come in or the actress or actor are playing it a certain way, and it's going to feel off if you're just stuck in the one way that you have it, you know?
definitely. What are some scenes that were more challenging for you than others in terms of not necessarily the acting craft, but the scene itself?
I would say I did like most of my scenes were in the police station, me giving briefings, me having conversation with Nikki, who's Amanda's character, and yeah, it was a lot of one-on-one with Amanda or a group setting. Okay, so basically that was all my scenes. It was either breaking down something to everyone in the station or just kind of giving a little bit more detail with Amanda. Um, the last scene of the show, I pretty much wrap up. There was 3 or 4 pages of, hey, this is what happened to this guy. This is what happened to this guy. This is what we were feeling. And it was pretty much, yeah, 3 or 4 pages of a walk and talk with a couple pauses in the middle. Um, I would say that was one of those that took a lot of work to kind of work out because you don't want to be monotone. You want to keep it interesting. There has to be the layers to it, you know. There there wasn't just a middle, beginning, end. There was a lot of details through a lot of different somebody dying, somebody getting caught, kind of pretty much recapping the murder part of the show. So to me, that took a lot of flushing out and working through. Um, just because you want to keep it interesting. And it gets boring if you're talking for 3 minutes straight with the same tone. Yeah, and I feel like what helps with that is I help some of my friends with auditions. So it's like sometimes when you're in it, you can't see it, but when you're in, somebody else's shoes and you're looking in, you could kind of see the game from a different light. I really try to focus on hitting all the waves up and down on a scene, no matter
Yeah.
how short or how long it is. Yeah. That's a great question. I feel like you get a different experience from every show, right? If you're doing one episode of a show for one day, you go in. If you're doing, say, 2 weeks on a show, and you start to be able to build a little bit of relationships. I would say this show was nice doing 6 episodes because you start to build a relationship and rapport with people, seeing them on a consistent basis, which is really nice. So I would say this definitely had some unique experiences and also being able to work with a lot of very good actors who are working actors, like they work all the time. Um, One thing that really stuck out is specifically for a show like this, like Amanda is in almost every scene. Like I probably 95% of the scenes, right? That's a lot of work. That's Monday through Friday. That's working 12-hour days and then also having something the next day and being able to prep that. And there'd be days where she's looking at her sides on the makeup chair because the day before was such a long day. That's what she was focused on. So it's a lot of work if you're a number one on a call sheet, or if it's your show. So that was definitely something that was fun and interesting to see kind of that process. And then the other thing too, working with such great actors on this was they had so many different variations of how to approach a scene. And so every time we did a different take, there was a different tempo or pacing or way they presented it. And, it's like giving the editor is the chef, and you're just trying to give the chef as many vegetables and fruits and spices to play around with. And then once you do that, they kind of mix it up
I love
however
that
they wish.
analogy. I love that analogy. That is great. That is great.
Yeah.
Like I said, you've done a lot. I do want to talk a little bit about your transition from sports to acting. When did that happen? What was that leap about? I'm so fascinated to learn about that.
Yeah, so I was playing baseball my whole life. That was actually I have a baseball right here. This is what I was holding and playing with it. Yeah, I played baseball my whole life. I wanted to play Major League Baseball. That was my dream since I was, 5 years old. But with sports, the older you get, the smaller the window gets, right? With acting, I feel like the shelf life is much longer. I mean, you could be 80 years old working. In sports you're either moving up or you're moving out. And that's just the reality of it. And so I came to a point, I was 24. I had an opportunity or two to keep playing, but I saw that window shutting. And so I was just like, you know what? Maybe it's time to move on. And the first question was, where do I go? Because my dad worked for the State Department, so we moved every 2 or 3 years. So there wasn't like, oh, home sweet home where I know all my neighbors and I went to high school and I lived there my whole life. It was like born in Thailand, then we moved to Washington, D.C., then we moved to Laos, then moved to Hawaii, Florida, New York, Bangkok, like kind of been all over. So I had no idea where I wanted to go, and I also didn't really know what I wanted to do because baseball was what I was focused on, right? So I'm like, man, what do I get into just some random business or try to do sales or try to get into tech or try to develop a new skill? I wasn't really sure. And acting was something that interested me, but I didn't really spend a lot of time thinking about it because I was so focused on baseball, right? So when baseball came to an end, I was having a conversation with my parents and I was like, hey, I'm thinking about, entertainment seems like an interesting field or career. And my parents were like, Joe, you're young, you have no student loans, or you don't have any like kids or like family obligations. Like, this is the time to go and do it. And if you want to do it, we'll help you move there and kind of get settled in. And so, yeah, I did that and been here for 8 years now.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic. When you are looking at your career from then to now and moving forward into the realm of acting, what are some of the things that you want to see yourself progress through in terms of whether it's directing or the roles you want to aspire to? What does that future look like for Joe?
I will say I don't necessarily have a set goal. Like, hey, this is it. If I make this, I'm going to be the happiest guy ever. I feel like there's a lot of things that interest me. And I know the way life works is things come out of nowhere. Life throws you curveballs. So, I was very focused on baseball and had this goal of playing Major League Baseball, right, when I was younger. I would say for acting, I enjoy acting. I enjoy directing. I enjoy creating, like I make a lot of short films with my buddy. Like I enjoy that very much. Um, do I want to head down just one specific path? I don't think so. I feel like they all kind of work together and they can all help you get opportunities in different fields. So I was just trying to stay, as open-minded to new experiences as possible. But ideally, I would love to in the short term, love to get on a show as a series reg, and maybe that will present the opportunity to do some shadowing or getting to a director's program so I could learn more about that because I feel like that being on set, there's always something you can learn. And I feel like the more you're just around it, the more you're going to be able to pick up different aspects of it. And so, yeah, I just want to work and learn and then kind of see where life goes from there. But I definitely enjoy writing. I enjoy directing. I enjoy acting, filmmaking overall. Yeah.
That's great. You're working with Amanda on this show. Are there other actors you would really want to work with? I mean, of course, there's several, I'm sure. I mean, I love certain actors and I would love to see them with different people. So if there are actors that you would want to work with that you would say, man, this would be, this is it. Who would that be for you right now?
Hmm. Okay, so I'll list two. There's a guy named Danny McBride who does like Eastbound and Down, Vice Principals. He does a lot of shows for HBO, uh, where he writes, produces, acts in, directs. I mean, he kind of does it all. And so I see a career like him as kind of what I would love to do. He makes a lot of a lot of comedies. He's always has a show going, and so I see that as an ideal kind of career. So I would love to, work on his show or work with him at some point. Because I mean, he's also like the funniest guy ever. And then I would say also like a Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise has been a stud. Mission Impossible has been fantastic. He's such a badass, and I feel like working alongside someone like that would be, so fun to kind of see how he operates. Funny story, when I first came to LA, I was submitting to everything. Okay. And so I saw this thing on a casting site. It was like, hey, we're looking for somebody to body double this guy. It shoots down in San Diego. So I was submitted. And then they reached out to me and they're like, hey, would you be able to come down? It's for 3 days. And then first thing I'm thinking is, this is one of those scams that people talk about where they just go and they don't get paid and they're like, um, here's some of the information. They were very secretive about it. And then finally, I was like, you know what? What do I have to lose? Start getting some emails, and all of them start saying Paramount Pictures. Okay. And so I'm like very new to LA. So I have no idea about anything. Okay. And they're like, great, the shuttle van will take you down. Just Uber to this location. We'll reimburse you for the Uber. I get on the van and I'm going down, and it's a van full of actors. At this point, I don't really recognize anyone. Um, but we go on to the naval base in San Diego. This was for Top Gun. They were doing reshoots, and one of the actors couldn't make it, so I was his body double. And so, yeah, they were playing football on the beach, and it was like 15 of us. Tom Cruise was throwing me football passes. And so I spent a few days uh, doing that. And I mean, I was just the random guy on this film that's like they've been spending forever shooting. So
That
obviously
is
that's
great.
much different, but I would love like a real working experience with them to kind
Yeah.
of just see how cool, you know.
That's great. I would have loved to be there just to hold and do whatever they wanted me to do. I would be in, just call me in. I would help you. I would just do
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, he's great. He's great. No, I love the fact that you have such passion for your work and you see a bigger picture in it, which is really great. And you're on this show and people love these kinds of shows. What do you would hope that the audience would take away after watching this series?
I think having compassion towards people who are in unfortunate circumstances, and there's a lot of reasons why and how people fall into, those kind of situations, and also it takes a toll on the family. I mean, I'll say you have a lot of drug use in LA and a lot of homelessness here, uh, and there's some areas it's very, very sad to see. Um, I think there's a conversation to how people end up in those situations, but like not everyone wants to be there, and I'm sure a lot of these people have family who are trying to help them, and it takes a toll on the family. I think this is a really gritty show. I think it shows a different light to a lot of things that people don't really see. And then I think it shows that police officers also have their family situations too. Like not everything is um, black and white.
Yeah,
You
no,
know, I think I think they did a fantastic job of just showing. showing it and having it feel so real.
What would be the way that people would follow you, find you, follow your journey, and stay in touch with what you're doing next? What are all your social media handles?
Awesome. Yeah, I post a lot of work stuff on my Instagram. It's Joe Daru, Joedaru. I also make a bunch of short films with my buddy. It's on his YouTube channel, Framed by Axia, Axia. So if you go to YouTube, type in Axia Joe Daru, all our short films will pop up on there, and that's something that we're really proud of. And we've been fortunate. We have also used a lot of kids that I coach in baseball in these short films, and a couple of them have went from never acting to being series regs, or one kid just did his fifth national commercial, and a year and a half ago he's never acted. So we work with a lot of great people, and some great kids. So we shoot, yeah, quite a bit with kids.
Ah, that's really
Yeah,
fantastic. This show, I think, really has a strong message, like you said. So if you could describe this series in 3 words, how would you describe this series?
gritty, real, and touching.
Those are really 3 great words. Thank you so much. But I'm not leaving yet with one
Uh,
more question, sort of question. I love
let's
your
do it.
story and your journey. If
Yeah.
you can, I don't want to say offer advice, but if you can share like maybe 2 or 3 things for the young people there, whatever age actually, that say, hey, you know what? I want to do this. What are some of the things you would want to tell them?
That's really I like that question. Yeah. I would say it's a very competitive business, right? It takes a lot of focus, it takes a lot of dedication. I think having a healthy mindset going into it is really important. I hear a lot of actors saying, "Oh, it's a lot of no's, it's a lot of no's." If you're looking at them as no's, you're just going to be brought down. If you look at it from, hey, I auditioned, it just wasn't for me, on to the next. Did I learn something from it? Great. On to the next. And always trying to grow, you're going to be in a better mental space. And if you're in a good mental space, you're going to be able to, be more free creatively. And I feel like misery loves company. So be careful who you surround yourself with. And I feel like if you find a good group and everyone's positive and everyone's kind of helping build each other up, you're going to feel much better about yourself, and it's easier to keep pushing forward. I think that's the biggest thing is surrounding yourself by good people and having the right mental attitude.
That is great advice. So, Joe, when you write your little book, let me know because I think that people need to hear about what you're doing. And, we need actors like yourself that can, share stories like this and give people hope. Because, like you said, a lot of people today at any age are doing this business and they have no patience. And I think that the things you just said are really, really important. So, at some point, I'm sure there'll be a
I,
book forming in your mind at some point, and
I'll,
I'll read it.
I'll tell you a quick story if you have time.
Yes, please.
I I met my creative partner Axia when I first moved to LA. We were doing background on a Netflix movie down in Pedro, okay? And so it was like an hour and a half drive for me. My creative partner at the time was living in Hollywood. He took the bus. It took him 3 hours to get there. At we had our call time was at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we met. They took a little boat, and we were just out there in the back, just fake partying. And we met on set that day. And at this point, he had been new to, using a camera, operating a camera. I'd been new to, pursuing acting. And I would write little shorts, like 1 minute. I wouldn't even call them short sketches, and then I'll just shoot them on an iPhone. And I had one that kind of went viral, and he just approached me and he was like, "Hey man, if you shoot things, if you want somebody with a camera, I'll be more than happy to shoot and edit, and then you could just write and like act and find the actors." I was like, "Sure." And so basically, the second or the third time I saw him, we drove up to San Francisco to shoot a 1 minute short film with my brother and his friend because we didn't know any actors here in LA. And they had a location like the place my brother worked at. So that was our first short film back in 2017. And then I started writing scenes that I would want for like a demo reel, right? And so instead of just making dramas, we'd make dramedies where I'd think when I was writing, I could use this 20 seconds for my reel, or I could use this 30 seconds for my reel, and then would make a little comedic twist at the end. So we could share it and people would be more willing to repost it because it wasn't just sad and depressing. It was like, yeah, I didn't see that twist coming, you know? Fast forward a couple years, the way I got my agent and the way Axia got a lot of his work was by the reels that we just built ourselves. And that helped me get an agent. The agent helped me get auditions. The 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 demo reel that I made with my buddy helped me kind of get more auditions. And then as I started working on shows, I started using the show footage into my reel and switching it out. But had I never started shooting my own stuff, I don't think I would have been on like Long Bright River. Like it's everything is stepping stone, right? And like everyone wants to go, as me included, you want to just get there, but
Mm.
those little blocks they add up and they make a
Definitely.
tall building one day.
And I feel like you listen to that inner voice of yours. And your friend did too, because getting on the bus to go all the way there and meeting you, I don't believe there are any accidents. I think that things were meant to be as they should be. And I see that you're on that path. So I'm looking forward to seeing so much more of your stuff. And I'll be checking out all your videos on your platform now that I know about them. And I really wish you best of luck. I think you're an amazing person, and I think you have a lot to offer this industry. And I can't wait to see more of you on the big screen, the small screens, and any kind of screens that are out there. So there.
Well, thank you so much. It was lovely chatting with you.
You're welcome. I'm so glad we made this happen. And
Mhm.
keep shooting and keep filming and keep doing what you do. Okay?
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks. Okay, bye.